Could you briefly elaborate your understanding on the functions of the NYDA in terms of the Act? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. To be brief, the functions of NYDA is to essentially ensure that the youth is participating in the building of the economy of the country. So essentially, it's for the to educate the youth and the public, specifically the youth, to obviously form partnerships, or rather provide training for skills development within the youth, and essentially that will ensure that the youth are participating within the economy. The other function of the NYDA would be that it ensures that it plays a part of, it's an agency that implements the National Youth Plan. It's the agency that actions it, rather than to have it on a piece of paper, which is a policy that has been formed, but we are translating the policy into implementation. It's just an action plan of some sort. So essentially is to coordinate the youth development, to ensure that we ought to, I'm sorry if I'm saying we, but I'm just referring possibly if I am to be the member of the board, is to essentially coordinate the stakeholders that are involved, that are both the private sector, the government agencies or departments that we as the NYDA have to oversee, that those policies that they have are implemented but are benefiting the youth. That's essentially the functions of the NYDA. Furthermore, I think the role that it plays that is very critical is bridging, obviously, the gap that exists between having a government forming, obviously, the policies, and then having the, okay, I'm sorry for that. So basically, outside of the scope of training, the education that it forms, it also supports entrepreneurship to ensure that the economic participation of the youth is not only on having people just to go to school. Others are more functional outside of the borders of the school. So they need to, there are those who are interested in farming, in agriculture, and things of that sort. So it essentially provides a grant to those candidates whom are qualified and are able to roll out their entrepreneurial journey.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mahlangu.
Mr. Mahlangu, what strategy would you devise to ensure the agency effectively implement youth development program? Do you understand the question?
Yes, can you please repeat it again?
What strategies would you devise to ensure the agency effectively implements youth development programs?
Okay, thank you for the question. So essentially, with the, I would personally, I think with the colleagues, given that we are part of the board, I think the most important one for me would be to looking at the pockets of the areas that need improvement when it comes to the integrated strategy, integrated youth get in. Okay. to ensure that it's effective, I will I will have to review the agency at large to understand the areas that are that are allocating resources that are not optimized. So by that I'm saying I'm basically going to revise the. I'm sorry to ask you this, ma'am. Can you please repeat the question again? I think I did not note it down very well. Apologies.
My question is, what strategies would you devise to ensure the agency effectively implements youth development programs?
Okay. First of all, with the programs that are already in existence, I would firstly start there to review them, to see those that are effective and those that are just consuming resources. From there onwards, we then I will reallocate the resources to those that have more impact. Number two, it would be through engaging with the people. Well, I will say the youth per se, because so I think that also another thing, the strategy to ensure that it's effective, to say we advocate
1
for
minute.
transparency. Okay.
Oh, now you can conclude.
Oh yes. So I was saying transparency in the sense of saying perhaps I would build a campaign to the youth to say, comrades, yes, you may be demotivated from applying for these grants that are available. However, you do not really necessarily need to know someone from within that agency. I think maybe to removing the stigma around having to know someone from within. So essentially, strengthening ethical leadership. That would be one of the points that I think the strategy of implementing internal controls that will ensure the effectiveness is from if you are starting a process, there has to be where it jams if there's more resource allocation unnecessarily.
Thank you.
Yes, I hear your strategy, but I want to ask you a question. It's just related to the strategy. Maybe you'll assist.
Okay.
My question is, in your own assessment, do you think the NYDA perform its mandate efficiently? If yes, how? And if not, what are the shortcomings and what are the proposed to strengthen to provide the practical your practical example?
Okay. Can you please?
Repeat the question.
Yes. Can you?
Okay.
Can you please repeat the question, ma'am?
I'm saying, in your own assessment,
Yes.
do you think the NYDA performs its mandate efficiently? If yes, how? And if not, what are the shortcomings and what are the proposed to strengthen them? Your proposal.
Okay.
And you can provide the practical example, your own practical example.
Thank you, ma'am. According to my own view, I do not think, as it stands, on a greater scale of things, I don't think it is discharging its objectives very well. This is on the basis that since its inception in 2009 to the adoption of the National Plan Development in 2012, it seems that as if the implementation of the programs, or I mean the policies that have been established within government in government departments, it has not reflected so on the basis of the youth unemployment rate that we are currently at. It seems like the National Development Plan, we're supposed to reach most of the objectives by 2030. However, the more we're getting closer to 2030, the more further we are from the implementation of some of the policies that are supposed to empower and alleviate the youth from the periphery and pockets of poverty. So I think, in a way, that should be revised.
Thank you. Honorable Shibango?
And you were talking on the mandate of the NYDA just now. It's a follow-up. It's a question after that one, but it's still on the mandate of the NYDA. Should you be appointed as a member of this NYDA and become a member of this board, how would you ensure that the mandate of the NYDA is implemented effectively and consistently, guided by the principles of youth development without being prejudiced? Thank you.
Thank you. So, ngiyathokoza, Honorable Shivambu, for the question. So, first thing first is to review the agency at large and the programs to see which people, or rather the youth, are beneficiaries. Number two, I will assess the, as I've said, I'll assess the internal controls that are set in the, for transparency purposes, that are set in terms of someone applying to the other end of actually receiving the grant, to see how does how is it that is there any dead wood within in that process? Are there other things that we need to remove to ensure that we are the agency is efficient and effective, in the sense that it's very much responsive, timely, so without having to drag. Obviously, I think the other thing that I would do is to assess the current systems that are monitoring and evaluating the progress, to see if there are any pockets that we need to improve. By those, I mean the duration of someone applying for the grant and receiving the grant. Is there any way that we can, in the times that we're living in, which is the interesting times of AI, is there any way that we can integrate AI into assisting the system in ensuring that the turnout time between the application and when the grant is provided, or if someone is applying for mentorship or skills development, how do we shorten the duration, however ensuring that everything is within the rules of law. We are not skipping any stages, but ensuring that it's very much effective. So that's one of the things that I think that I would do. Furthermore, I think in terms of the assessment of the resource allocation, I think members of the committee, I stress that very much on the basis that from my profession, I work very much with optimization of resources to the output that we get. So, and as much as that may be the case, some programs you will find that they have a lot of administrative cost, which is a waste than actually assisting at grassroots level of the people that it should benefit. So it's one of those things that I would look at with the fellow colleagues, to ensuring that it's as effective and efficient as possible.
Thank you.
Stores in the ticket.
Oh, I don't know if. Oh, thank you. No, thank you very much, Tamsang Mahlangu. My name is Sihlelonzi, Member of Parliament deployed by the Economic Freedom Fighters. I've just got one quick question for you. So the NYDA Act outlines the agency's responsibilities in as far as youth development is concerned. Now, given how the Act is so broad, how would you ensure that the NYDA policies and programs align with the legal framework outlined in the Act? And maybe try to give me some practical examples in as far as this relationship is concerned. Thank you.
Stozi notekhethu. How the as your question was that how does since the NYDA Act is broad, how and it allows the responsibilities, how do I ensure that the programs it aligns with the legal framework?
Yeah, I'm trying to maybe so that you understand it better. I'm trying to test your understanding of the relationship between the Act and its legal framework in as far as the work of the NYDA is concerned. And I want you to give me a practical example to that effect.
Okay. Okay, Stozi, Honorable Sihle. And as far as the NYDA Act is concerned, especially with, I will firstly maybe take the root of its role in the development of, or rather the bridging between ensuring the rural communities participate, and since it's mandated by the national development plan to be the one an agency that incorporates it to ensure that it participates in that thing. So I think into ngayisho manje ukuthi the NYDA okay. Honorable Sihle, can you please repeat that again? I'm not sure if I'm understanding it well. From how I'm understanding it, I think it may be different from what you are saying. Can you please?
Through you, Chair, if you allow. Oh, I'm trying to understand, my brother.
Yes.
If I'm just trying to find a simple way of explaining it to you. In as far as NYDA must fulfill its objectives, right?
Yes.
Youth development, the things that you would have mentioned here.
Yes.
Now, there's the NYDA Act, and then there's the legal framework of the NYDA Act. I want to know if you understand the relationship between those two, and if you can give me some practical example, even one, that demonstrates to us and the people of South Africa that you'll be serving, that you understand this relationship.
Okay. Okay, so from the as NYDA is mandated to obviously do the youth development, for me to answer this question, I am going to use that example of the rural being integrated into the okay, so the framework essentially is the skeleton, and then from the act itself, it's the policy, the legal framework will be okay. Okay, let me just give this one. So from the people who are in the rural areas. Okay, Chair.
But 1 minute left for this question, unfortunately, sir. Over to you, Honourable Member.
Chair, you're saying you must respond in my 7 minutes. Okay. How are you, class?
I'm well, sir.
Worried ever since your arrival, I've not seen you take a sip of water. You might want to sip water. Thank you. So yeah, my name is Tiamo Tsoteti. I'll just go straight to the question. So what do you think are the barriers that are confronted by young people in South Africa who wants to access higher education? Second, just 3 subsections to this question. Second is who amongst the national demographics do you think is affected the most by those barriers? Subsection number 2 is why do you think this demographic is affected by, is the one that is affected by those barriers? And number 3, what do you think the NYDA should do in participate in resolving that challenge? Number 4, which is a very straightforward one, could you tell us what is the budget of the NYDA? Sharp, thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Zoteti. So, first and foremost, the barriers that are hindering many people to access higher education. Number 1, it would be, I have 2. Obviously, the obvious one would be the finances. Number 2, it would be that within our basic education sector, the pupils that are there, most of the ones that are in the public schools, suffer the most on the basis that the teachers, I apologize for saying anything, but I'm not, but the teachers are not as willing to go an extra mile for those pupils, which even with that, it's not their fault. It's because the system itself is disadvantaging the teachers in discharging their roles in ensuring that most kids would be able to get into the education sector, because they have to pass with a bachelor's to be not only bachelor's, but obviously I'm saying if we are going to be very critical about it, for them to being able to get into courses that are going to ensure that they will have a line of employment in the future. So the demographic that is a disadvantage, or rather is in the periphery, and because of this is our people, black people. Most of our black people, I will make an example. Within in the basic education sector, there is a stigma around mathematics, and we are living in the times whereby most of the STEM qualifications are the ones that are mostly relevant in the times that we're living in. So part of the problems that these kids are facing is that you are in school learning mathematics, which is a language, but it's also being taught in English. So you are trying to understand English and also the language of mathematics, which now becomes complex, and we lose the kids within the system. So that's essentially part of the things that are very much problematic. I'll just add something that I am doing to contribute towards solving that crisis myself. I'm part of the directors of an organization called Mthethomatics, which we go to basic education schools to ensuring that we make these kids understand every language has it's complex, but we teach the basics for them to being able to understand, and we also open a wide range of possible careers within that field for them to understand. So essentially, why do I think they are affected? I just explained. they obviously are having a barrier between the language that they are learning in and the language that is being taught. I will just say mathematics. Obviously, not everyone is going to be a mathematician. Number two, outside of the scope of the curriculum, we find ourselves in the post-apartheid era. However, most of its effects are still being felt 30 years later, and so it's very much a thing of saying. I'll just make an example just to